Hello, everybody. It's Andrea. This is not going to be about politics. This is going to be about a sort of social issue, although I think it does eventually intersect with politics. Over the 4th of July weekend, we had a mother visiting with her two young children. Very young. One a little over 2, the other a little under 4. It was a very tiring visit for me. For one thing, I'm not a child person, despite having raised 2 of my own whom I adore, and at many times over the years having most of the neighborhood and their friends in my house, because I was not a micromanager, and especially as the kids got older, they liked being in a more laissez-faire household. I had a few big rules, which was no drugs or alcohol or sex, obviously, but also no bleeding, no breaking things, and otherwise do as you will. And I was unlike the other neighborhood parents who were all lovely liberal micromanagers. So I've had a lot of kids in my life over the years, but I'm not naturally a kid person. So this was a little hard. It was also, I'm pretty OCD and my house is just the way I like it. It's organized and clean. And after they left, I spent 3 hours getting the house back to organized and clean. And one of them had spilled shampoo on the towels, so I've spent also the last 3 hours trying to defoam my washing machine. So it was a tiring weekend. But mostly what I wanted to comment on was what I see as the tyranny of gentle parenting. And this is something that goes back also to when I was a young mother. The young woman who was here with her children, I cannot tell you how much I admire her. She is a lovely woman. She is thoughtful. She is gentle. She is infinitely patient. And she does exactly what is expected of mothers nowadays, which is gentle timeouts. And when the child misbehaves, you sit them down and count to 100 or set a timer for a minute and deflect, distract. When the toddler runs for something dangerous, you try to get him distracted by something else, and when the older child doesn't want to do something, you cajole her. It's all the gentle parenting. I hated gentle parenting because I have a somewhat different view, and maybe it's because I'm not a child person, so I probably had a little more emotional distance from my children when they were so young. But my feeling about children is that children like boundaries. I grew up in a home with very clear boundaries. My mother always boasted that she never child-proofed the house because she made it clear the things we were allowed to touch and the things we were not allowed to touch. Now, there were other issues in my mother's child rearing that I wouldn't repeat with my own children, but she and my mother-in-law, who disliked each other intensely, were both in agreement that parenting in their day was much easier because they were allowed to set clear boundaries. And I need to preface what I'm saying by saying right here that I don't want anyone to say conservative commentator says people should beat their children. There is an obvious difference to normal, loving people between discipline, which is a form of teaching, and child abuse. It is not child abuse when your toddler keeps trying to run into a parking lot to give him a good swack on the diapers and say no in a drill sergeant voice. I think it is child abuse to chase after the toddler every time and grab him so the toddler thinks it's a game and keeps running for the parking lot. I speak with experience. That's what my son did when he was a toddler, and I was doing the gentle parenting thing of running after him and saying no and distracting him by putting him on the slide or something. Don't do that. It's bad. You'll get an owie. And when I finally had it and gave him a solid thunk on the diaper, and he was very upset, he never did it again. My grandmother, who admittedly had never raised her own children because she always had governesses, she would say that children are often like little in a fog on the cliff's edge, and it is up to the adults to make sure that there is a fence so that they don't go over the cliff. I've actually thought of it a different way, and I came up with this theory, ironically and sadly enough, in the wake of 9/11. But what I always thought is that children are like passengers on an airplane. They are told that there's a pilot in charge. They might even see the pilot, but it's not clear, especially with gentle parenting, that anyone is in charge. So they'll start acting out. And they do it on purpose. They will take off their seatbelts and stand up to make sure that the pilot over the loudspeaker says, "Back to your seat, put on your seatbelt," because it means someone is flying that plane. Children are foolishly courageous. If they think the cockpit is empty, they will bravely step up and fly that plane no matter how young they are. Children shouldn't be flying planes. Part of being an adult is giving a child clear boundaries. And I think part of the gentle parenting thing is connected to dog training, actually. There's one theory of dog training that says you have to alpha dogs, and it doesn't, again, mean abusing them. You don't hit them. Often it's just a matter of barking or physically showing that you are the alpha. I have done this successfully with my dogs, and I am completely dog crazy and ignore my dogs. I don't know if you can see it, but in the lower left-hand corner of the screen, there's a little fuzzy dog lying in the corner. He's very old. He thinks he rules the roost. I know I do. But the other theory is that that's not always appropriate. For example, a dog's natural inclination is to chew. So it wants to chew. If it chews something inappropriate, you simply repeatedly substitute something appropriate, a chew toy, until it connects chewing with a chew toy. That makes perfect sense. What doesn't make perfect sense, if your toddler is running for the stairs, which are dangerous, and you keep chasing after it and grabbing it and taking it away, your toddler thinks, awesome, maybe I'll get the stairs, but I definitely get mommy's attention, or maybe I'll get food, or she'll put on a video for me. It's a win-win-win all the way around if the toddler runs for the stairs. There are no boundaries. And as children get older and this lack of boundaries continues, they're not happy. This follows a theme I've written about at the site, which is that we have a very unhappy child society, a very narcissistic young people. And a lot of narcissism is a deep-seated insecurity. You are going to be insecure if in the airplane of life, you feel that no one is flying that plane. I'd also like to, because typical for me, I'd like to expand this into the political sphere, which is about setting boundaries. We have in the West a group of people, I'm going to name names, Muslims, not all of them, obviously. Again, we rule with generalities. You have a society that rules to the middle. You cannot have a country that is run by catering to the margin. That's part of the problem with the whole LGBTQ plus craziness. I grew up in San Francisco. I've always believed that if people want to have personal relationships with members of the same sex, that's their prerogative in a free country. However, when you take what is a marginal preference, no matter how much they say it isn't, it's still a very small percentage of the population, and elevate it to the White House flying flags and putting colors on itself and festivities with, people who have so-called gender identity issues flashing their fake mammaries at the camera on the White House lawn. When you bring it into every classroom, you are governing a whole society to the margins. So there are enough Muslims across the West who are very open about their desire to take over the West. They're verbally open about it. They act upon it. And we're doing gentle parenting with them. Oh, you shouldn't do that. That's not nice. You came to our country. We have our culture. We have to bark at them like drill sergeants. You catch them being good. My philosophy of parenting, 75% of the time you catch the kids being good. Has to be legitimate no matter how, when they're young, no matter how small. Good for you, you listened to mommy. Good for you, you drank your milk. Good for you, you did something, a constant affirmation of real things, so they associate the attention they so desperately crave from their parents with being good. But 25% of the time, you get to be a drill sergeant. You get to say, stop. You get to say, no. You get to say, that toy is gone. You get to say, you sit here until the timer goes off, and if you move, I'm doubling the time on the timer. Kids need to know where they stand. And cultural invaders do better if they know where they stand. Sure, catch them being good. Sure, appreciate to the utmost those who come here genuinely to seek a good life. But unless we start doing genuine cultural disciplining to those whom we've allowed in our country, who then seek to overthrow it, imprisoning them, deporting them, whatever is appropriate, unless we are prepared to be proactive, their highly narcissistic religious cult will destroy us. So there is a crossover between dogs and toddlers and Muslims. Catch them being good, give them alternatives when appropriate, and come down on them like a ton of bricks in appropriate ways when they are violating your rules that make life tenable, functional, happiness, and be willing to bring appropriate consequences to bear. It makes for happy dogs, happy toddlers, and probably happy Muslim invaders. And the unhappy ones can go back to their homes. Anyway, that's my thought for the day. For what it's worth, I can guarantee you will never find another commentator on the internet who will manage to combine dogs, toddlers, and Muslims. So you have here a unique experience. Thank you, as always, for spending a little time with me. I greatly appreciate it.